Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's College Essay Pro Chat. I am Susan Napo. I am CEO of While Writing Workshop, and today we are talking about potential. Are students living up to their potential? Are they writing the essays that we think they should be able to write? Are they writing the essays that they're capable of writing? Sometimes these are not the same thing, so let's talk about it. I'm going to answer as many of your questions as I can. I have several dozen, as usual. And if I don't answer your question, please feel free to reach out to me, Susan at whilewritingworkshop.com, and I will be happy to talk to you more. So let's get started. Veronica has one of my favorite questions. How can I help my students come up with brilliant ideas for their personal essay? If I knew the answer to that, I would share it with you. But I'm actually not going to make fun of this. No, I think it's a great question because what we really want to know is how can we help our students shine, right? How can we help them stand out? How can we help them write the essays that they're capable of? And Veronica's question, I'm sorry, is direct, and it's something we all wonder. You don't have to help them come up with brilliant ideas. So my answer is simple and actually flips the question on its head. They don't need brilliant ideas. In fact, the more we lower the stakes, the lighter we make it, actually, the better. Now, that might seem counterintuitive. Why would I want to make this less intense, right? Why would I want this to be less urgent? Why would I want to make it easier? Because the lower the stakes, the better the essays. And so, brilliant topics, you could say, well, is a brilliant topic something that is completely new and different? Not necessary. Is a brilliant topic something that showcases how brilliant the student is? Not all students are brilliant. That's okay too. So I think it's important for us to remember that sometimes our expectation and the way we frame the essay can actually get in our way and can sometimes make the student more nervous than they need to be. And we don't want to make our students nervous for sure. Next question. Carmen says, what exercises can we do to work with our students to help them organize their thoughts? So I'm going to assume what Carmen's talking about to organize thoughts means helping them organize their essay. And we don't really have to. So those of you who've gone through our college essay experience training will have experienced this. Those of you who haven't done the training yet, I would encourage you to follow us and go through it at some point because it really helps with this issue. Students don't need to plan their essays. They really don't need to organize their thoughts. What they need is to understand the prompt. So what do I mean by that? Make sure that your students understand the task. Why are they writing a college essay? Who's reading it? How does an essay fit into the larger application? When they understand that, they are able to come up with topics that are effective, so that answer the prompt, that demonstrate personal characteristics that are positive and happened relatively recently. They can do that. That helps them focus. And then to organize their thoughts, once they have that theme in mind, here's what I'm going to write about, and here's why, and here's how it answers the question, then they can just write. Content comes first. First, all about content. Make sure that they have the material they need, and then step back. And we do a writing exercise where we ask them to write outside the essay, write more about certain things that I would like more depth on, but outside the essay, not in the essay, not as a revision tool. And then we have them do an exercise where they open the essay from three different places. Why? Because it helps them see their work differently and consider different ways to organize the essay. They're organizing their thoughts in Carmen's language without even knowing it because they're thinking about the essay. How could I move through this? What are some options? Some of them won't even do it. And that's okay too, because I'm giving them the opportunity to make editorial choices. Many of them will do it, most of them will do it, and they will use some of what they learn as they revise. So we don't have to know up front where we're going. It's really okay to let the essay writing be a process of discovery. And they will do it. They really, really will. Jacqueline brings up an interesting topic, and I think we need to address this. She writes, I see anxiety as a theft of motivation in essay writing. Students start comparing themselves to essay samples they see online before they even start. And now some counselors and colleges are recommending using AI as a thought partner to help students come up with ideas. How do we help students block all this out and focus inward for motivation? Couldn't have written it better myself. So I appreciate her bringing up this issue. Anxiety is the theft of motivation. I like that phrase. I think I might borrow it. I will attribute it, but I will borrow it. Students are worried. They want to get it right. And they think that if they do all the right things, if they read the right examples, if they put questions into an AI, that somehow all this expertise they'll absorb it. And instead, I'm going to go back to what I said in response to Veronica's question. We need to lower the stakes. We need to remind the students that you have everything you need. The way we help them not use AI is we give them something else to do. We don't say to them, let's brainstorm ideas tomorrow. Mm-mm. What we do, we give them 3 activities they need to do before we talk, before we brainstorm. I don't give them 50 questions to answer. I don't give them 6 exercises to complete. I don't need to know their values or their most important experiences or everything about them. I don't need it. What I need is for them to understand the prompt and not just understand it, not just for me to tell them or my coaches to tell them, but for us to confirm their understanding. So those of you who've done CEE or who are in our partners program, this will sound familiar to you. The writing exercise for step 1 for understand the prompt, after they've read the prompts and watched a video and done a writing exercise, those 3 questions are, what is the Common App personal statement really trying to find out? What's it for? Because we use the Common App as our teaching essay. Question number 2, what do they already know about you? Because what I want to remind students is this application is full of accomplishments. You've accomplished many things. Even if you think you haven't, you've accomplished a lot of things. You got most of the way through high school. Well done. The third question is, what else would you like them to know about you? That is not a checklist of accomplishments that we're necessarily going to address in all of their essays. I am checking for understanding. Do they know the difference between an accomplishment and a characteristic? Because characteristics are missing from an application. Applications, it's hard to capture that. Essays are a good place to capture that, any essay. If they know the difference, then we move on. And then I can look at the ideas they've brought me, which may be cliche and happened when they were 12, and there are things I've heard before. It's okay, because I use them as conversation starters and help the students see that they are interesting and that they are enough and that everything they need is already inside of them. It's not outside in ChatGPT. It's not in essay samples. I know they're reading sample essays, and I tell them, wherever you read them, they're put together for marketing purposes, like it or not. They're balanced by different kinds of people with different kinds of experiences and whatever. It doesn't matter. And the fact that your best friend's sister got into UNC and this is the essay that she wrote, that essay didn't vault her over the wall. It may have helped her, it might have helped fill out the application, but it isn't the thing. Just because it's the last thing left doesn't mean it's the thing that made all the difference. So what we're doing, again, I feel like my theme today is lowering the heat, lowering the stakes, helping students see that what they need is already there. They have it. So our exercises and our work together is focused on helping them identify what they already have and giving them space to express themselves and to really quiet all that noise. Margarita says, how do you motivate students to put time into their essays? Brief assignments, very brief assignments. So in our schedule, each of our 10 steps has a writing exercise that goes with it. And those exercises are short. And we tell students up front, this is how long it's going to take. This is going to take 10 minutes. This is going to take 20 minutes. I want you to spend 1 to 2 hours on a draft, and that's it. And if you keep moving, I want you to stop. Stop writing. If you have 250 words and you spent 2 hours on it, either you're distracted by your phone or you're stuck. And if you're stuck, I want to get you unstuck. Don't sit there for 8 hours. So I can't necessarily motivate them externally. I can't give them a prize for finishing, but I can help them with my early exercises, which are very brief and very low stakes. I can help them feel successful. And if they feel successful in the early steps, they will continue working because they will trust me. Sherry says, how do you help students show more reflection? So the reflection, this is a big question. Some people try to put the reflection in later. They find some great topic for the student to write about, some really interesting experience they've had. And then later they try to revise in the reflection. Don't do that. You have to start with reflection. And you also have to know that some students are going to be more prone toward reflection than others. Some students aren't going to want to dig that deep, and that's okay. Those kids get to go to college too. Think of the adults you know. They're not all deeply reflective, and they're fine, and they have careers and families and nice lives, and they're good friends, and it's really okay. So we don't need every student to always dig super deep. So, how do we motivate? So, I'm sorry. So, when it gets to reflection, I want that up front. I want to make sure before they start writing, before they do a first draft, in our brainstorm discussion, I want to make sure they can balance three things: the prompt, at least one positive characteristic, and an anchor story. By anchor story, I mean something that's going to hold this essay in place. It might end up being the whole essay. In some cases, it is. In many cases, it's a piece of the essay. There's more context around it. It doesn't matter. I'm going to find out later how complex their writing and thinking is. But to help them reflect, I need to have that reflection up front. And it can be straightforward. It can be, I'm a hard worker. Okay, great. Tell me a story about a time when you were a hard worker. What did that look like? That's enough reflection, because in the later steps, in the later writing activities, we can deepen that, or I can at least give them opportunities to deepen it. We give them opportunities to make editorial decisions. They will either take those opportunities or they won't. But we're going to keep giving them those opportunities, and then we're going to step out of the way. Svea says, how to deal with flat students or students stuck on an uninspiring idea. Really goes with what I just said. It doesn't have to be an inspiring idea. It has to be an effective idea. So by asking students to do step one, to really make sure they understand the prompt. So however you want to do it our way, you want to do it your own way, check for understanding. Don't just assume that they get it. And make sure they understand, especially with the Common App, it's the preliminary instructions, the stuff that's in the Common Application itself when you log in and you're going to actually submit an application, not just those 6 prompts. 6 prompts are important, well, 7, but 6 that have more detail. But really what's important is that lead sentence. They want the lead paragraph. They want to know something beyond grades and scores and da 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 da. That's it. That's the prompt. That's the real prompt. Who are you beyond what you've accomplished? What are some of your best characteristics, not just your accomplishments? So for people who have an uninspiring idea, remember, as counselors, as writing coaches, as independent consultants, we've seen it all, right? It might seem boring, but if a student has a prompt, at least one characteristic, and an anchor story, students who are capable of more sophisticated writing and thinking will develop from there with your guidance. And the students who can't write in more complex ways and don't think in more complex ways, they won't. And that's okay too. Those kids get to go to school also. Let's see. Allie says, how to motivate them to try hard when they don't like writing to begin with. A lot of kids don't like to write. Okay, some kids can't write well. That's okay too. I'm a writing teacher. I would love to teach them all to be great writers. But I also know that in order to do that, they'd have to come to my office every day instead of going to English class. And that's not happening. So I have to work within the realm of what I have. And sometimes that can be hard, right? It can be hard to step back and let them write the way they write. For those who really don't want to, this is hard, but what we're going to do there is we will give them small assignments. We give them small things that can help them feel successful, that can help them do things that they're capable of, that they can see results, rather than let's sit down and brainstorm ideas. And now I want you to go write me a draft and I'll look for it next Tuesday. There's too much of a gap. So for us, step 1, understand the prompt, confirm that they get it. Step 2, brainstorm ideas. Have them come up with ideas, but give them criteria for what elements those ideas have to have. Have a discussion. In your resources, for those of you who've been through college essay experience, for those of you who are in our partners program, we have guidelines how to have that discussion, what points to hit, where to dig deeper, where to pull back. That's important. Not everything, you can't do everything in every step. So step 3 is to confirm that theme, clarify the theme. Focus on the theme. What happened? Why does it matter? What are you going to write about and why? They will be able to use that same framework for UCPIQs, for any supplement. Understand the question, decide what you're going to write about and why, and then write a draft. And after that, give more opportunity to develop content as necessary, and then start a more conventional revision process. Students who don't want to write, can't write, don't feel like it, all of that, they can do these things, these smaller steps. They can accomplish this, and they will go as far as they are willing and able to go. And we have to be okay with that. Let's see. Stephanie says, what pre-essay work do you recommend to avoid the rush to a topic that may not be the strongest? Really, what I've just said is that we give them 3 exercises. One is morning writing. Many of you have seen this. It's just 10 minutes, write about your morning, sensory details. 0 stakes. There are no stakes. It has nothing to do with what you're going to write about in your college essay. And I do that on purpose because I want to hear what the student's voice sounds like when they're not trying to impress anyone. Everybody woke up. Well, if they went to sleep, they woke up. They can do it. Anyone can do it. Some kids write pages, some kids write 6 bullets. In 10 minutes, that's what they get. It's okay. It gives me information as a coach as to their willingness and ability as well. How much are they going to put into it, right? It also gives me, like I said, a taste of their writing voice. So I give them that. Then I have the step 1, make sure they understand the prompt, and step 2, and then we're going to discuss. So I don't want just send me your essay. I want to talk about what they're going to write about and why. I want to make sure they have a theme, that they know what they're going to write about and why. I want to make sure they can say it to me and that they can go away and they can write it down separate from me, because that's part of our early steps as well. That way I make sure they have an effective topic. And effective is what I'm looking for. Let's see. Jennifer says, I use the WOW method, but sometimes the takeoff point or the second revision can be a roadblock. What suggestions do you have to prevent this? So I think this is a coaching issue more than a student issue. Really need to work on your reflection skills in what for us is step 8, and I imagine Jennifer's talking about this. Step 8 is when you're reviewing the structure and the content. So now you're thinking about, how does the essay move? And you're saying, this is flat. There's not much here. I feel like the student can go further. They haven't been that motivated. So here's where you really need to look at your skills, which are constantly evolving and developing. Even within our own team here, we're constantly developing our skills. And you also need to look at the student's willingness and ability. What has the student shown you so far about their willingness and ability to do the work? And you have to believe it. So, we always say, like, well, if I gave them one more draft, maybe they could polish it up a little bit more. Maybe, if it's the kind of student who really would be motivated by that. Or is it the kind of student who hasn't been making a lot of changes anyway and probably isn't going to? You have to make a decision. Also need to make sure that you're looking at the work they've done up to that next draft, that second draft. Looking at all the content exercises as well as the draft, looking at their theme and thinking, what's missing? What could I move? What didn't they include in their draft that they told me about or that they wrote in one of their writing exercises? So it's juggling a lot of material, but once you get it, once you're good at it, it's like magic. It's really great because you can do this quickly and easily, and you can feel okay when the student isn't going to go where you think they should go. Often they won't. And well, not often. Sometimes they will. Sometimes they won't. And we need to know the difference. I think that by having a process, whatever process you're using, knowing where you are in the process, why you're doing what you're doing, always know why you're doing what you're doing. Don't just do it. Don't do it because I said so. Don't do it because your colleague said it was a good idea. You must know why. And know how to go a little deeper in the things that you do. That's your own professional development. Next question. Noel says, I have a student aiming for top colleges, but the quality of his essays are not as expected. I tried to help him a lot, but still his essays are not what they should be. What can I do? I just wrote an article about this. I called Letting Go of the Imperfect Essay. What I will say, Noel, is that expectations, we need to be careful about our expectations. We may think that the really smart kids who have the great grades and the great potential are going to write extraordinary essays. And they might not. And it could be a willingness issue, it could be an ability issue, but it's not necessarily something for the coach to have to keep working toward. And that's really hard. We find ourselves saying, he could have, oh, if she would only, I was imagining this. Here's what I say, look for improvement. Has the essay improved at all? Has the student been consistent in the type of work they're putting in? Because maybe this is all you get, and that's okay. We have to take our expectations and our ego out of it, which is very, very hard. And we also need to be willing to say to a parent, this is consistent with what your child does. And as much as the essay matters, it's not going to vault anyone over a wall. It's not going to be the one thing that's going to get them into Yale. It could help, but they've done most of the hard work already in school. And this can be very difficult. The word that Noel has here is essays are not as expected, right? Not what they should be. They are what they are. And that's not just a platitude, that's the truth. If after several rounds of work and several steps and several weeks, this is where the essay is, that's where the essay is. And that's okay. And you can let go of the imperfect essay. It's really okay. Let's see here. Sarah says, I need tips for keeping students engaged over the entire 10-step process when they are used to banging out a rough draft the night before a deadline and then making smaller edits before a final draft. Some IECs compress the essay time to 2 weeks. Is that something that can work well with the WOW 10-step process for the right student? I've done it. It is possible. We generally recommend 4 weeks. You can do it. It's the same assignments in the same order with quicker turnaround time, which means you need to get back to the student right away. But it has been done. I've done it in 5 days. I think the kids skipped a couple days of school in order to finish that, but it's possible. I think what happens once you get used to using our method, you realize that, again, what I said before, you're giving the student short assignments. You're not doing what they usually are used to, which is write me a draft and then we're going to revise. They can bang out a first draft before step 5 is due. Absolutely. They can write it in 20 minutes, the hour before they send it to you. That's okay. Because you're going to give them writing exercises to develop more content. And then they're going to have another draft and they can write that draft in 30 minutes right before they send it to you. And that's okay too. So it's okay. I mean, I don't recommend that they operate this way, but if that's how they operate, they're doing other things in between those drafts. And you need to keep them to those tasks. That's what's important, is making sure that you keep them focused. So I want to answer a few questions that came up here. How do you stop them all from discussing how COVID in middle school has impacted everything for them? This is going to be the new I tore my ACL and and now I won the tennis tournament. It's the new thing, right? Everyone's got this topic. It's okay. Start there. It affected everything I do. If they want to write, okay, if first of all, that can go in additional information. If it makes them feel better or there's a question, about challenges, they can put it there. But if it is still in that Common App personal statement space, talk about characteristics. First of all, here's what you can say. Tell me about a time when XYZ happened and you did something that you wouldn't have been able to do because of COVID. I mean, remember, you're looking for positive characteristics. If they're trying to use this as an excuse for why their grades are the way they are or why they concentrate the way they concentrate, they're in good company. They don't need to write about that. But if they are saying, I have overcome something or I have shown strength in some way, then I want an example recently that demonstrates that positive characteristic. If COVID comes in as part of the context later as they're revising, that's okay. But fortunately, at this point, we're far enough from lockdown that those stories, those didn't happen in high school. So you can also say, let's talk about who you are right now, because they want to know about who you are right now, not who you were when you were 12. Let's see. Elizabeth says, I'm really concerned that AI is going to leave the college essay coach high and dry. Can you speak to how AI and writing coaches can coexist? Well, for now, we're okay. I'm on it. I'm paying attention. Um, so AI right now is available for two things. All of the tools. I'm following all of them. One is generating ideas. So it basically they do what I teach colleagues not to do, which is just dump everything about you in these, answer all these questions, do these assessments, tell me everything about you, and I'll help you find the golden nugget of what you should write about. I don't think people should do that. AI can do it more quickly. A machine can do it faster than I can, but I don't think that's anything a human should be doing. So in our process, we start with understand the prompt. And then we say, give me four ideas, and they need to answer, they need to fall. Each idea has to have an anchor story, a characteristic, a little bit of information about the experience, and a prompt. AI can't do that yet. Maybe one day, perhaps it will. So students are going to do that. And truthfully, for most students, it's not going to matter if they do that or don't do that. Okay. The other thing AI can do is it can edit and revise. I also tell all of you and all of my colleagues that is not what we should be doing. We are writing coaches. We are not editors. I'm a good editor. I'm a great editor, but I'm not going to edit students' work. I'd edit, a colleague's work if they ask me to, but I'm not going to do that for a 17-year-old. It's not appropriate. It's not ethical. I might change a comma. I might help them with their spelling. I might help them with their sentence structure, but I'm not going to start rearranging paragraphs and revising sentences for them. I won't. I'll observe things. I'll make note. An AI can't do that yet. Is it possible that it's going to leave the college essay coach high and dry? Maybe, not yet. I think that things are shifting. I think we're in the midst of a change for a lot of things related to artificial intelligence. And I think hang on to what we're good at, which is helping. I want to teach students to do this. I'm not interested in the essay as an object, which is what AI does. It thinks of the essay as an object. I think of the essay as part of an application and something that the student created. And part of what I'm doing, a lot of what I'm doing, is teaching them how to do that, because that's a skill that will serve them in many different ways. Lisa says, how do you address the expectations some parents have that an essay will be the thing that gets the student in when the colleges targeted are highly most selective, or when the student's profile makes their preferred colleges unlikely? In other words, they think they are paying for an admissions outcome, not a writing process. Excellent question. That is a topic I've addressed a lot, and I will in the future as well. That's about setting expectations. That is about every problem. The problem is the parent thinks this is what your job is. You need to be very clear that that's not what your job is. It's very important. When I talk to families, I'm very clear. What are you buying? What are you paying for? You're buying my expertise. You are paying for my experience, for my insight, for my process. You are paying for time on my coach's schedule. That time belongs to you, your family, your student. And I am going to help that student work within the realm of their willingness and ability to do the work, assuming that they have a good list. So if you're a full service consultant, like many of you are, or a school counselor, the first thing you need to do is make sure the student has a realistic list. An essay cannot make up for the fact that the student isn't really qualified, or they're barely qualified, or on the razor's edge of the lower range of SAT scores and grades. Those students probably aren't going to get in, and no essay is going to make a difference. Even an essay that one of my amazing coaches helps them with. It might make a tiny bit of a difference there, but if they're not qualified, they're not qualified. And I am willing to say no thank you to a family like that. So we set expectations right up front, make sure we're a good fit. For those of you who are full service or who are school counselors, you also need to differentiate between the rest of your work with a student, which until now has been about choosing schools and visiting schools and whether I should take the SAT again and should I, continue with the drama club and what should I do over the summer? You were the expert. When it comes to the essays, you're going to pull back. Now you're an expert on process, not product. And this is increasingly important to make clear to families. Parents went to college a long time ago, and what they experienced and what they expect is no longer realistic. And they need to understand what they're getting. So that's my last word for today. Thank you so much for your time, for your attention. This recording will be available for a month, and we'll have a new topic next time. Have a great day, everyone.